Hello everyone, we just had the over-the-air patch and with it came some pretty interesting changes. We had Spider-Man go up from 4 to a 5 cost, which I think is warranted. It puts it in line with a Professor X, and so now it can no longer be used as like a tandem. They have to be used on that same turn or same cost slot. We had Medusa get buffed, we had Rogue get buffed, which I think was definitely needed. We also had a Beast change from a 2 cost to a 3 cost, which I think is going to be interesting. It makes it much more difficult to use consistently. And so I think it'll take a little while before people start finding a good slot or a good home for Beast now, but I think it brings bounce down a pretty decent peg. And so of all the over-the-air changes, the one that I wanted to dig into the most was the Medusa change. Medusa went from a 2 cost, 2 power with the On Reveal, if this is played at the middle location, plus 2 power, to now giving you plus 3. So this puts it in line with something like a Lizard or some of those higher value, higher power 2 cost cards that are used in like good card decks, good card lists that want to fight for initiative every single turn of the game. This one now is in line with that. And so I think a full-on Odin build is overkill for Medusa. I think she has good value in a lot of different lists, but I wanted to really lean into using and triggering a Medusa multiple times. And so that is how we landed on today's list as an On Reveal deck. We're looking to have a variety of On Reveal effects. We have Iron Lad in the build to pull additional cards, to give us another way to reach into our deck to get another Wong, to get a Medusa, to get a Black Panther a little bit earlier or more consistently than we would have been able to do otherwise. If you don't have Iron Lad, there are other ways to build it. The most common one is going to be subbing out the Thor, putting in something like a Wolfsbane and a Storm, to be able to lock down a location and then impact it by going wide instead of going as tall as often. And so overall, I think this list runs incredibly well. It does have some tougher matchups. So something like Galactus that heavily controls that lane. If you're one of the few people that are running into a Cosmo, which I don't see very much of anymore, if you see a Cosmo, it can be pretty detrimental to your overall plan. And there are risks with running a Black Panther if you go too tall, especially if you use it into the Wong lane. It's going to be a very easy Shang-Chi target. Otherwise, we have a lot of ways to impact multiple lanes over the course of the game through buffs like Ironheart, through things like our Mjolnir to buff up our Thor, through our White Tiger and our Doctor Doom to impact the board overall and go incredibly wide so that we are impacting every single lane, making it tough for the opponent to decide where they need to position their power. And so overall, the deck runs pretty well. It is incredibly fun. It's not going to be quite as competitive as the one that we covered yesterday. So if you want to see that one, I will leave a link in the description below. But with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have J Electricity, the first location's Monster Metropolis. We do get our new and improved Medusa. I need to upgrade it. I just never had an excuse to use Medusa before, so I just never did. And so Muir Island is going to be perfect for her On Reveal of the middle location. And I know you guys, this looks like a brand new card that got added to the game. You may not have seen it for months, but she has a pretty cool On Reveal. If you play this at the middle location plus 3 power, that puts her on average a relatively easy to attain 2-5, which is kind of in line with like a Lizard, but it doesn't have as big of a drawback in my opinion. Yes, you can negate Lizard's downside with a few locations, but Medusa is fairly consistent to hit unless that middle location is restrictive. So I'm going to go ahead and play Thor into the middle location. If we eventually do some, no, we're not going to do Thor into the middle location. We're going to do Thor into the Hellfire Club. If we draw into the Mjolnir, we can do Mjolnir plus Odin in mid. To trigger it twice, we can re-trigger Medusa, which is going to be fantastic. And it looks like we're going up against the good old control heavy build. I don't know if they got the notice or not, but that build took a pretty substantial hit in the Spider-Man becoming 5-4. So you can no longer lock down a lane and skip and soak, enabling your Cyclops, your Hulk to get bigger, those sorts of plays. The Storm does come down, so that does ruin a couple of things. We no longer can do our Odin there, which is unfortunate. We do have Doctor Doom to go wide. We also have just this Hail Mary of a card in our Iron Lad. Iron Lad could hit a couple of things here. It's not going to hit Arnim Zola, which would have been pretty wild. Anytime Iron Lad hits Arnim Zola, it's a wild, wild game. Now, I think we probably prioritize our Doctor Doom next turn unless it's hit something like a White Tiger, then maybe Odin makes sense. But I think in a lot of cases here, our Iron Lad is going to be the most beneficial for us. So there's the White Tiger. And so the Odin is actually going to be the viable play. They do use the new 5 cost 4 power black and white Spider-Man They have knocked down the Menace just a peg. We know we're not going to get our Mjolnir. Unfortunately, honestly, I think that's okay. We're going to be able to impact multiple lanes. We have the Odin to come down onto the Iron Lad that became our White Tiger. And I think all is well against J Electricity. And so they do play for Monster Metropolis. Let's see where the White Tiger triggers at. I think no matter where it goes, it's probably fine. They could have a Dr. Doom here, maybe? No, they have the Hulk Smash. And so they do... Okay. They take us over in Monster Metropolis, but this becomes a tie. The right lane, we are ahead by such a large margin that we're able to win the tiebreaker. And so the High Evolutionary Control build, which is kind of like my baby, that was like my day one build. I featured it like 2 hours after the card was released. It's been knocked down a substantial peg. I think people will continue experimenting with it. That ability to not soak and have your Cyclops just go crazy in the Storm lane, you're not going to elevate your Hulk quite as high, I think is more impactful than people realize in that particular build. I think Spider-Man is still usable, but I think in that build, he is less efficient than he was before. Let's go ahead and take the 2 cubes, jump over into the next game. All right, next up we have K-Snap. Let's see if we're able to get the Medusa into Odin. And that, yes, is a little bit of overkill. I think Medusa is just going to be a decent value card to throw into several decks. Like, you go out of your way to try to play something like a Lizard. Now, maybe in like an Electro ramp, you replace that with something like Medusa, and you just know that you're going to plop that into mid instead of somewhere else. So like Electro ramp, I think those that normally would run a Lizard, you could probably do Medusa and be just fine in most games. So Shuri's Lab is going to double the power of whatever card we play there. I think we do Thor into mid here. Now they did a Blade. It discarded their Lady Sif. So could be a Hela discard. Could just be like an Apocalypse discard and they went with Blade right off the bat. We don't know. They did get Arrow. Wow, we got White Tiger. What? I don't want to do Odin into the Thor lane though, unfortunately. We can do something like Wong into White Tiger into Odin, maybe? I don't know. I know that Wong is our first step, and I want to do it into Shuri's Lab. Just because if we get like a Black Panther here, then all of a sudden that's just going to win. The Black Cat does tell me this is more than likely a Hela discard deck. Let's go with the White Tiger. That's going to send 2. When we re-trigger, it's going to fill up the rest of our board with those 7 power resources. It's either that or we do next turn. It's either that or next turn we do a Dr. Doom, and that sends 10 power here and here. But it enables us to do something like this turn. We can double trigger the Ironheart. Instead of leaning in on the Odin, which would be more power here, but we can, instead of leaning in on the Odin, which would be more power here, Dr. Doom will spread power across. And then the Ironheart gives us that little bit of flexibility. I think we're going to go Ironheart here. I don't know. White Tiger may have been the better option. Oh well. Oh well, we'll see. The Captain Marvel is a huge resource in the Hela discard, especially being thrown into Shuri's Lab is massive. We have 3 cards left in our deck. We have a Black Panther, Arnim Zola, and our Mjolnir. Do we risk it with the Iron Lad? Kind of want to. Iron Lad could just send this stuff around the board. It could just massively win us this lane, or it could buff up this lane even more. I don't know if this is stat for stat the best idea. Gosh, do I want to do it? Oh, I guess if this hits Arnim Zola, then we only have 1 space in mid now, which is not great. Okay, Black Panther's fine. Black Panther is just going to be absurdly large here. The 21 power... Ooh, Magneto pulls our Thor, pulls our Iron Lad. Do we still have enough? We have a lot of power in Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. It's an absurd amount of power from the Iron Lad that became Black Panther in Shuri's Lab. And so we are able to hold down the win. That was definitely not the optimal play. That was much more leaning in on like wanting to do the Medusa, wanting to do the fun stuff. And we were luckily able to still hold it down. We will take the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Teebs. The first location is Olympia, and so it does allow us to draw some additional cards. We're going to go ahead and throw Iceman onto the board. Hopefully add some important disruption, but we'll never know. We'll have no idea if it hugely impacts them or not. They are running a movement deck. Very brave call. I thought about adding like Storm into this list. If I didn't have Iron Lad, I would probably add something like Storm. Maybe we even cut the Thor at some point so that we're leaning more heavily into like the Black Panther, Arnim Zola, or go wide portions. But I do like using Iron Lad in this. It has so many great targets. And right now we have fantastic targets. If we play our Iron Lad here, huge targets. Ooh, the Ironheart could just pop off. Ironheart, Iron Lad, Odin? Maybe we wait one turn. We're gonna wait one turn. We're gonna do Iron Lad instead of Ironheart. Iron Lad into maybe like a Black Panther. We'll see. We'll see what we draw into. We might even do something like Wong into something else. So they have, if they snapped here, what are they snapping into? It's a movement deck. I assume they have their high roll things like Cloak, things like Heimdall. But is that worthy of a snap in a Sinister London game? Sinister London just pumps out absurdity of power, just an obscene amount of power that it pumps down. And so even if you have like a Doctor Strange to now move this back, ooh, Doctor Strange will move it twice though. Doctor Strange will move it once, and then it will move the Human Torch a second time here. Wow. So actually, that's not fantastic for him. That almost caps out this Sinister London location. Oh wait, no, it's pulling the dagger too because we have two cards here. That's huge. I don't think it's any bigger than like a Black Panther triggering 4 times. That's a very good, like as far as the movement goes, that is like your ideal start. We get a we get a 6-power Wong, which is the dream, one of the dreams. Iron Lad just gives so much value here. Let's go ahead and go with the Black Panther. Most movement decks don't have those tech cards or just technical cards that can counter the opponent's play. And so I think we're okay going like Black Panther into Odin here. I think is just going to slam an absurd and obscene amount of power because this first one is going to double twice. And then if it goes here, that's going to double 2 more times in the vault. Massive, massive value for us. And then if we trigger it again, this is going to trigger it 2 more times, potentially another 2 more times here. Wild. And then the wave. Fortunately for an On Reveal deck, the wave does not really impact us all that much. Now, what could impact us here is if they have, I guess, an arrow. Arrow here would push here. The second arrow would go here. We'd win here and here. We'd be okay. Oh, we have initiative anyway, so it doesn't really matter. A Shang-Chi could decimate us, though. I have to believe that the movement deck is not running the Shang-Chi, though. The wave is a good tech against decks that want to flood a lot of things. This one is not one of those. Our middle or right Black Panther is going to get massive here. It's going to trigger so many times. It's going to be, what, 200 and some odd power. And then it does go into mid as well. Wild. Oh, no. These are silly numbers. And this is one of the things that I like about Black Panther is that if your opponent does not have a way to deal with that, so if you can identify that it's a deck that typically doesn't have a Shang-Chi or typically doesn't have those counter components, you can get some silly stuff on the board. Casual 1038 power, casual 265. We will take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Bobby. The first location is Sakaar. We have 2 good pulls, 1 bad one. The Black Panther is a good one. The Odin that they pulled is the bad one, which we were hoping we did not get because now we have a pretty decent advantage over them depending on what they have to fill up the rest of their hand. We're going to skip on turn 2. We didn't draw into our Medusa, unfortunately. We do have Thor to lean in on, which is big. Let's go Thor. We can maybe do Ironheart here on turn 4, and then hit this left lane Sakaar with both a Mjolnir and an Odin on the last turn to scale really big here, to scale pretty decently in mid, and then to also impact the board overall. That's my tentative line, depending on what they flip into. It is another High Evolutionary Lockjaw. So since the control version got knocked down a peg, this is the deck that I anticipate taking its place. I anticipate this one being the kind of go-to after, now that that other one is not quite as consistent. I don't think that deck is just gone, but I don't think it is anywhere near the top tier that it was before. And so I think this is the obvious choice to go with. Having just such good flips, the Dr. Doom early, and this is the second game in a row that we got hit with the Dr. Doom early, can provide so much board presence that it is just phenomenal. Now, I think we have to gamble here. No. Yeah. We're going to gamble here. We're going to hope. We're going to hope. Oh, no. We're going to hope that White Tiger goes here. If it goes here, maybe we pivot and do our Mjolnir and Odin here to impact this lane and to send another White Tiger across the board. It really depends on what they get here. They did snap on us. I don't think this deck typically runs waves, so I'm not worried about playing the Mjolnir outright right now. They do get two really good flips into the Avengers compound lane, which is massive for them. However, unless they have both the Dracula and Shang-Chi, which I don't think this deck typically runs, it's usually one or the other, I think we have them. This is going to be 12 extra power here, potentially more with the Ironheart, trigger. Ooh, I don't know. It'll actually be kind of close, depending on how much power they were able to float and soak for their Evolved Hulk, if that's what they have to play into the Wakanda lane. We're going to go ahead and see. We're going to send it oh, wait, they play the Evolved Hulk in the left lane. Wild. We have the, I can't even speak. We have the Odin to re-trigger the Black Panther, which is going to double his power even more. Does it overcome it? Actually, I don't know. No, it does not. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, guys, we did get, it wasn't our optimal line, but we got a decent line. High Evolutionary Lockjaw rotation, I think, is going to be one that's pretty hard to beat, even with all of our strong one reveals. Like, we put up a respectable amount of power, and they were just able to come over the top of it so incredibly easily that it feels bad. We're going to go ahead and take the 4-cube loss. We'll learn from our lessons. We'll come back bigger and better in the next game. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Bobby Choi. The first location is Bar with No Name. Asteroid M makes it tough for us to play like Wong outside of the Asteroid M location. Same thing with like Ironheart. We'll see. This may be a game that we skip Ironheart, knowing that it's going to pull into the middle location from Asteroid M. Maybe we skip turn 3, we go Wong into a turn 5 play into an Odin to re-trigger Medusa, to re-trigger all of these other additional cards. Dang, these locations are rough. Okay. So we do have some of our go wide cards, but we don't want to go wide because we don't want to fill up Bar with No Name. Space Throne is that exactly what it is. That is all that's there. So so playing something like Iron Lad is very, very scary. We're gonna go Wong. We can't go Wong with the Wong play. Actually, you can. You can go Wong with it. They probably have Enchantress somewhere, I would imagine. Ooh, no. So maybe this is a bounce deck with an armor. Ooh, it could be a Shuri. Ooh, the Shuri Kitty Pryde deck. That would make a lot of sense. Now, there's only a 1 out of 4 shot. There is a 1 out of 4 shot that this Iron Lad ends our game. I mean, we could do Ironheart instead. I think Ironheart is the safer play, honestly. Ironheart is probably the safer play. It's going to trigger twice this time. Next turn, it'll trigger 4 times. But it's not as fun as doing like Iron Lad into hoping for a Black Panther. White Tiger would be bad. Thor, not so great. Nebula. Actually, we're gonna go Ironheart here. We're gonna send an Ironheart. We do play Iceman just in case they do anything strange in the Space Throne. And then we're going from there. I do expect to see maybe Shuri, Kitty Pryde and Shuri here. Yeah. And so next turn they can go Kitty Pryde, and Taskmaster. And that's going to be, what, a 16 power, 16 and 16? That's pretty good. But ours is better, I think. I haven't done the math. This is a lot of triggers on Medusa. This is going to be a pretty potent Medusa. This is what we've been waiting for. Let's see if we can make it happen. The Kitty Pryde and Taskmaster, like, this is the only problem I have with Shuri is that it's very linear. Like, it is very telegraphed. And so let's see. We have the trigger from Medusa. We have the Ironheart triggering multiple times. I don't think they can compete with that. Going with the Shuri into like a Kitty Pryde. Like, okay, whoa, they didn't go Shuri into Kitty Pryde. They did Red Skull into Kitty Pryde, and we were able to outpower both locations. That is one stacked Medusa at 24 power. That is a huge Medusa at 24 power. We will take the new and improved Medusa. A lot of that, mind you, is because of the Ironheart. What? She did a lot of carrying on her own. 3, 6, 9. She had 5 triggers by herself, so that's an extra 15. So that's a 17 power Medusa. Without the Ironheart bonuses, everything else is from like the additional buffs. So we will take the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Owen Lee. And if Owen Lee, we knew that we were going to win this matchup, we would snap a little bit more aggressively than we normally do. I'm really bad at snapping in most cases, unless it's a very comfort list. I play a lot of variety decks. So a lot of times I snap pretty defensively or rarely in those particular matches. I mean, we have Nakia, which helps our Ironheart, helps our White Tiger. The flip side of that play would be Ironheart, which isn't going to be as good as the Nakia. Let's go ahead and play it. Let's go ahead and play it into Nidavellir. It does get past the Goose. Seeing the Goose makes me think that this is like a Silver Surfer build. Silver Surfer is pretty common. They could have a Cosmo that they play into the hub, which would break our ability to go wide with things like White Tiger, with things like Doctor Doom, which is scary. They do play Maximus and Nova. Right now, we don't have anything that's going to be hurt by their Killmonger, so we're fine there. We have initiative, so our White Tiger is guaranteed to go off. It's going to send 2, so maybe 14 here, maybe it caps out this location, and then we could either do like an Ironheart. Maybe we do Iceman here, depending on where the White Tiger goes. We can re-trigger it with the Odin to cap out the rest of the locations. Now, if it's Cosmo, we do have to pivot and try and think about what our next playline is going to be. They play Sarah. So we do continue into this last turn with initiative, with priority. A Doctor Doom is going to send 10 more power here. But an Odin is going to send, fill up the rest of the locations with the 7 power cards. I think that's what we're going to go with. I don't think they'll beat us in Nidavellir or the flooded location, even with the Nova bonus, even with the Silver Surfer. So we're going to lock in the Odin. I think we have a relatively good shot of winning this one, of locking this one down. And so we will see. So the Brood comes down. That's going to be a lot of power in Nidavellir. But unless they also have a lot of power in the hub, I think we're okay in 2 out of the 3. So the Killmonger comes down, and then what I assume is Silver Surfer. So they may have the Nidavellir location, but I think we have the other 2. It's very close. It is a very... Oh, no. We are able to still hold down Nidavellir, only by 3 points, which is kind of wild when you think about how many big resources and big cards we had there. We lock in the left lane, lock in mid, and we tie for the right lane. And so overall, there's a lot of decks that this does very well into. Galactus is a tough match, but just about everything else, this feels pretty good into. A High Evolutionary Lockjaw rotation feels like one of the tougher matches because it can just put out so much power consistently. But overall, I think this is a fun list. I think Medusa is in a good spot in this list or outside of it, just as a 2-cost of 5 power. That is a good energy to power ratio, and I think she's going to see a lot more play than she has in the past. And so we're going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.